Hi, this is Mark from LongIslandWatch.com. I am not in New York, as you can probably tell. I am in Cleveland, and I'm joined by, you gotta know this guy. This is Teddy. How you doing, Teddy?
Good to see you, Mark.
Teddy Baldassarre.
That is the most legendary intro in all of watch intros.
Well, you know, I worked on it.
Yeah, you've had some reps.
It's
no
been
doubt.
there for a while.
Yes.
So I'm out in Cleveland. I have a bunch of questions, and I
Please.
will fire away. Here we go.
Yeah.
Well, I guess just a point of interest, a point of who you are, in case people don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to give me like the 30-second elevator pitch of who you are?
Sure. Teddy Baldassarre, content creator, business owner, own TeddyBaldassarre.com, which some people know. Also have a retail store here in Cleveland. That's really me. I'm just a watch enthusiast, a guy who's been chugging away on YouTube, love making content,
Got it.
and maybe you've seen me before, or maybe you're not. I mean, hey.
Hey, subscribe to his channel
Yeah.
while you're at it, if you don't already. So I have a bunch of questions, and we'll just shoot through them, because you're kind of me about 20 or so years ago. You know, online watch seller, content creator, this and that. So a lot of this stuff resonates with me, so I like to fire away. So
I might fire them back at you, too, because I'm
more than welcome.
very curious, too, about your journey as well.
Oh, absolutely. It's a hell of a journey. It's still going. So my first question for you, the toughest hurdle you've faced becoming first an online reseller, and then toughest hurdle to be what is now your brick and mortar reseller.
They are different, I suppose, yes. So online, probably similar to you, I would imagine, is just getting the brands out of just thinking about their traditional sales channels.
Right.
Because even when I was getting started and thinking about authorized dealership, it was around 2018, 2019, and we were trying to figure out like our business model, because there was no business. I mean,
Right.
we had content. I always love content. That's always, first and foremost, what I prioritize is that, and still to this day, is making great content. That's my goal. And then I'm really just operating the business as an authorized dealer. But the challenge was, and when we were getting started, is the brands had a certain way of doing things, and the internet, as you know, it's not the conventional path.
I would think 2018, 2019, the e-com writing was on the wall that e-com was here to stay, right?
It was, but still, even at that time, it was an uncomfortable thing for many brands to navigate, and they wanted to think about who's the right partners. Is this what we want? And then we're going into it with like, who else is a brand on the site? We didn't even have a website at the time when we were asking for this. So like, how does this work?
Right.
So that was definitely the biggest challenge. There was just a lot of no's.
Right.
Brands seeing probably a baby-faced kid asking this, like, what is he even doing? What's going on? Why does he want to do this?
Okay.
But really, it was just the goal of trying to develop the business out where I could, when you find you love something, to me, it was like that obligation to want to try to sustain that going forward. But then the second part of your question, you asked about brick and mortar.
Yeah.
It was just the unexpected hurdles of what it would take to actually construct something. I didn't think I'd be in the construction business.
Oh, okay.
So I had to learn. I had to learn
from an empty space to.
Yeah, I had to learn about permits. I had to learn about designing. I had to learn about shop in shops. Like what does this all mean? Designing out space. How do you work with one brand there with another brand here? How do you make sure everybody's happy and
because
working?
the brands sometimes have say over who's where and
it's all
who's near what.
Yes, absolutely. All of them want to have prime positioning. They want to make sure their design is felt. So you have to have that balancing act to make sure everyone's happy, and then even just construction alone. Just thinking about, hey, we can't close the ceiling because we have to wait for the fire alarm permit, and you're waiting around. So wait, we can't move forward with the construction. We have to wait around for 30 days. We can't do anything. Yeah, we're all out on holiday. Like, I didn't expect these to be hurdles in project management that we had to think about, but that was part of the journey.
But now that the journey is finished in a way, and the stores are happy with the way everything turned out, and
thrilled. It was the right move for us. I've always wanted to have a location that I could connect with enthusiasts. And you post things online and you still connect with people, but it is a little different to see someone in the flesh, and
hand them the item.
And I'm seeing Mark in person. It's a different feel than
the
just
same thing.
I mean, it is in many ways, but it's also interesting to see someone light up and they get to try on a watch.
Happiness.
Yes.
Okay, so established retailer. So obviously you're a content creator. Call you a reviewer. Now, how do you maintain a wall between what you review and what you sell, and remaining objective in everything you do?
Short answer is you try your best.
Right.
The long answer is it is, of course, a balancing act.
Right.
But let's not kid ourselves. We all have to balance objectivity.
Right.
Objectivity is a test for us no matter what you're doing. For me, I know what my interests are. It's selling watches. But what drives me the most is making compelling content. And I always just try to be very pragmatic in how I present information. cover the variety of the industry.
Right.
Cover everything.
Right.
And also be very matter of fact of how I approach watches.
Right.
When you have a review of mine, what I typically will always do is state the facts. What people want.
Right.
If they want to see
size, price, color,
Yes.
movement, blah, 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 blah.
how does it stack up.
Right.
If you follow in that form, you're just laying out the facts for people to make their own decision.
Right. So there's no opinion there.
Yeah, and I try to also, and this is a big thing for me as well, is my opinion does not matter when it comes to someone's buying journey.
as
And you
well.
probably learned that too.
Absolutely.
Is I opened up my own
Your
idea
view,
and
yeah.
vantage point about
Yeah.
what I like based
Yeah.
on actually opening up to maybe what other people like.
Right.
I never would have exposed myself
Right.
otherwise.
Right.
So that was always very helpful. And as I was mentioning, I think objectivity it's a test for everybody.
Right.
It could be being friends with somebody at a brand.
Right.
It could be being sent to watch. It could
True.
be going on a press trip and maybe getting paid to do something. I mean, how
Right.
we structure it is how the business operates is, yes, AdSense is a small little chunk, but that operates at a net loss.
Right.
The only way for the business to operate
Sell
in a
watches.
niche space like watches, where it's very hard to make money, as you know,
Yeah.
it's very hard to sustain this. You have to find a revenue model that works.
Okay.
And to me, it was the best way to do it, where I could balance my autonomy and flexibility as a business owner,
Right.
as well as creating content that I want,
Right.
without having the brands be all in my business. So I
Right,
can,
of
I can
course, you don't
choose
want
what I
that.
want to post. I can say
Right.
what I want to say. And also the other thing I'd add to it is the only person in the business I have to answer to is myself.
Yeah, it's true.
And I care about my name. I care about my reputation.
Right.
You have to do things with the utmost integrity that you possibly can,
Yeah.
and never sell yourself for a single watch or any opportunity. You
Right.
have to understand your name. And I know where my family comes from. I know how hard my great-grandfather worked to get here.
Right.
I'm not throwing that away for nothing.
Right. So every opportunity is an opportunity to gain a customer and say good things and just try to be honest and open. And
Yeah, and it's not. Let's be real. It's, of course, I want to make money and have the business grow.
Right.
But you just have to find that balancing act. And some people are not going to like what you're doing.
Right.
That's okay too. But you just try to do your best and to operate with integrity.
Yeah, I like how you said that you've opened up your vision to what's right or what you like and your taste and stuff. Back when I was first starting out, I was shipped the wrong watches by a certain brand, and they were butt ugly. They were 47 millimeter red dial, coin edge bezel, ETA movement, and I contacted the seller, and I'm like, you guys sent me the wrong thing. And they're like, oh, well, you can pay to send it back then. And I was like, well, whatever. I'll put them on the website. Boom, boom. Sold. I was like, oh my goodness. Oh, you have to, kind of, it's not always what you like. It's
Yes.
what everyone likes, or, you try to tailor yourself to more people.
Because why do we like watches? We like watches because they're these very idiosyncratic little objects that we find ourselves in.
Yeah.
And ourselves and what that can mean is so broad.
Right.
There's so many people, so many different preferences.
Right.
You can't just think that tunnel vision, very myopic view on things is
Yeah.
going to work for everybody.
Right.
If you do that, that's limiting the fun aspect
Yeah,
of why we all love this in the
Pigeonhole
first place.
yourself,
Yeah.
and then it's over.
And I tried on a 43 millimeter case one time, and I'm like, wait, I can actually wear this.
You're right, I can pull it off,
And
right?
you figure out where your lane is and how broad there is with collecting,
Mm-hmm.
and what you really latch onto.
Sure. Okay. So it's kind of similar to the first question I asked, but posed a little bit differently. What's the most challenging aspect of being a physical retailer, and then any issues pop up that when you set your sights on this that you did not anticipate happening?
There's not too many surprises so far. I mean, I'm 3 months in, so it's still early, obviously. But everything's been, for the most part, fantastic.
Right.
One of the differences, though, and I knew this was going to happen, but it is
Still surprising nonetheless.
Yeah. So when it happens to you, is just how different it is when you have a in-person interaction versus
Right.
a digital interaction. You know this.
Yes, absolutely.
You build
True.
you build the website.
Right.
It's optimized to be self-sufficient.
Right.
You go on the website. If a customer's interested, they can take care of everything they need
Right.
to go ahead and check out.
Yeah.
When you're in a store, you need to have
To nurture
human
it.
interaction. You need to treat that customer the right way.
Right.
It's a totally different type of scenario, and you have to also cycle manpower.
Right.
And human resources to make
Right.
sure that you can
But
do it.
people there and
Yes.
physical presence.
And they're doing the right thing. When
Right.
you have a website, everyone's being treated equally.
Yeah, and e-com's open 24/7. That's what I learned. My father was in retail,
Mm-hmm.
owned a hardware store in the city in Manhattan, and I watched him go to work every day. But if the store is open 8 hours a day, that's how much money you can make.
Yes.
And it's fixed. But now e-com, it's whatever.
And
It's
just
open 24/7.
cycling people so that you
Right.
can make that work and make sure
Right.
that Saturday, very much our busy day. Because
Right, of
people
course.
come from out of town often and will come and visit. And when you have 15 people trying to all come in at once, how do you manage that?
Right.
On a website, it's like, oh, it's fine.
Right. And you're not going to hire 15 people. That's crazy.
So you have to manage that relationship in a proper way. I also recognize too, and I'm sure we see eye to eye on this, is every single customer is valuable, whether they're spending money on a $200 Seiko or they're buying an Omega. Because I also know where I started. I know you never try to assume with anybody. Every single person is valuable to you. And if somebody's coming into your establishment, you want them to have an amazing experience.
No matter what.
And sometimes it doesn't work out the way you always wanted, right? And that could be e-com, maybe a customer service interaction doesn't work out the way you wanted, but you just try to do it right. We don't hit it out of the park every single time, but we really try to.
You try to. That's all that counts. That's all that matters, yeah. You are literally the face of the company. I'm the face of the Long Island Watch for the most part. How do you plan to scale your business? If you plan to scale it, how do you plan to scale it knowing that there's only so much Teddy to go around? And then obviously you have a home life and everything else besides a work life. So how do you plan to grow the business or grow the enterprise?
So I did not set up for this to be a business in my name. It just happened. I had a Google account. And when you have a Google account, it's in your name. It says Teddy Baldassarre. So I'm like, okay, I just posted a video on that channel.
Oh, okay.
And this is how it all happened. So I had no anticipation of like build a personal brand.
Right.
That's how all this happened. But now what I recognize is part of, I think, why it's worked is it's a personal brand. People feel a connection to me. So to answer your question, you have to recognize that you can't do everything. And you have to be willing to let things go. So you have to find the things that it's not possible for it to be easily replaced. And where are the tasks in your life where you can be maybe not 100% replaced, but 90% effectively replaced. And those are the tasks you have to be willing to let go. And for me in the business, the hardest thing to replicate is probably the content. So that's where the majority of my time should go. So there's other just business administrative things that I'm involved in that are probably a little bit harder, but then there's also things that you can let go of. So you have to have good people, you have to be willing to pay those people, and you have to ensure that you're not so obsessed with being in control of everything. And that's hard with a personal brand because this is your name. When somebody screws up, it's a reflection of you. But you have to be okay and let go. That's how I want to grow the business. It's just step by step, do things for the long run, and do that the right way.
Organic, slow growth is steady and slow wins the race.
I agree. And hey, you've been doing this for how long now?
20 years.
Yeah,
20
you're a testament to that.
Yeah. I started out slow, and it just, I attribute it, or I kind of like say it's like you're building a house brick by brick. You don't really know what you're doing yet, and then in 15, 20 years, you turn around and you go, holy crap. I built that. And you don't see it while you're doing it, but then when you step back and take a look at the big picture, it's like, wow, okay, yeah, this did become something. So sometimes
I feel like I'm building the plane as I'm flying because of the turbulence, and then instead of your analogy, I'm looking back like, oh, look at how far we've come.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I've heard also we're painting the plane while we're flying. Same thing. What aspect of your business takes up the most of your time?
Content. I probably spend 30, 40 hours a week just on content alone.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and we were talking about this on the ride here, is when you establish a certain standard for your content, you want to maintain it, if not improve it every single time. So I set up at the beginning, I wanted to really invest in content. I also have a background in video production, so I just like it. I like it. It's fun to just get gear and get the shoots going and make some cool stories and make them compelling. And I think that's something that's unique to our channel too, where we can do that, right? I really do spend a lot of money in doing these trips and doing these manufacturer visits and editing these videos. I mean, they take a ton of time to make. And even on my prep side, I'm just dealing mostly on the front end of the production. Some on the post-production, like I'll give some insight into some of the edits, but not all of them. I mean, some of them are pretty formulaic at this point. When I go to camera, I know what I'm going to say and feel good, but a lot of times like it does still take a big chunk of my week. But that's the most important thing. That's the most important thing.
You started by saying that, your first video, you really set up for success. But that was so important that you do a good video because you're able to shoot these higher end watches and you can appreciate the beauty and everything else. The lighting is perfect, everything looks good, and the beauty of the watch actually comes out. And that's important because if you would have started, hey, whatever, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do, and start with a low quality, you couldn't do what you're doing today. I don't think you can. So I think you set yourself up for success from the beginning. My accountant years ago told me, it's like, whatever you start with in your business, make sure it's a tool that grows with you. Because you don't want to can never start fresh. You need to, anything you pick, whether it's accounting software or, whether it's filming a video.
Yeah.
Your style is your style. And you set that from day one, right? And
I didn't have that that process in my head when I was thinking about it, but it just happened.
It just worked out.
Sure.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's good advice.
Thank you. My accountant will thank you. So, and this is, I guess, following up on that, are you happy that that takes most of your time? Or would you rather be doing something else business-wise? You're saying content creation takes up most of your time. Are you happy with that?
I like all aspects of the business.
Yeah, okay.
I like seeing the new product that's coming up from the brands. I'm a big product guy. I'm a product guy. I mean, honestly, if I could think of another job in the industry, I'd love it. It'd be helping design product, and that's very interested in that. But the content is fun to me. It's fun to go on a production. It's fun to plan it out. So I don't mind it.
Right.
I really don't mind it in reality.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Because it's what you do. As you said, 30, 40 hours a week, which for a lot of people, that's just the job. And then there's more behind that for you.
Yeah, that's just the base layer.
40-hour work week is you just film it.
That's the bare minimum base layer, and then there's inventory management.
Sure.
There's merchandising. There's customer service. I'm from afar, and fulfillment. I mean, those are things I have to.
You have to farm that out. Absolutely.
Have to hand it off.
Right.
That is what it is. Like shooting the watches. As much as it is cool to shoot watches, I can't shoot every single
You can't sit
watch.
there for 3 hours just shooting a watch.
Which and that might be conservative, right? I mean, it is for some of these watches, 1 day of shooting for someone's day. I mean, their life, their week.
Right.
They're spending a day just shooting one watch.
That's insane.
And then I'm spending time with it because I want to be able to have information about
getting the
how I
lighting
feel.
right, removing every speck of dust and this and that.
Oh yeah. No, we have all little tools to get that.
And stuff.
Yes, of course. It's a whole process.
Things you don't think about. This is close to my heart. Would you ever consider launching your own watch brand?
Thought about it. I've decided not to, just because I don't know exactly what it would be, what price, and I've just gone back and forth on what that could possibly look like. I also just see so many brand owners and how much of their soul and sweat they put into these. Yeah. And I just recognize, as I mentioned, where my time goes.
Right.
It's kind of balancing out where can I put my time, because if I started a brand now, I'd want it to be great.
Right. So then the content might suffer.
Yes.
There's only one Teddy.
Yes.
Right.
So it was just picking when would be maybe the best time to do that.
Right.
But also now you really set up your business where everything operates. That's a full-time endeavor in itself, in a way,
absolutely.
to do it at a certain tier. You're working with suppliers, you're working with designers, and do you do that in-house?
Yeah.
Who's leading that initiative?
Right.
Who's doing QC testing and prototyping? That's a whole process.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've entertained it, but it's just difficult for me to take the plunge, and I think the longer I wait, it's harder to take the plunge.
Yeah.
You did this. What was it? Almost 15 years into your journey, right?
About 16 years. When I started. I started almost out of necessity, but financial necessity to fill a big hole that was going to be left in the business. But I mean, it was one of the smartest decisions I ever made, though. So.
Yeah, because I know Islander now is a huge part of your brand.
Yeah, it's a big part of the business. Yeah. So but I was curious. You always followed your journey, see what you're doing, and. Always wondered, will there be a Teddy watch?
I don't know. And
How about a collaboration?
I would be more open to that.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've actually been working on. But
cool.
I'm very select. Select.
Yeah, of course.
And I also don't want to play the game of limited edition and it being trying to sell it out. I just want to make a watch that I think is cool and just let it float out there. If I do something limited, it will be because it probably should be limited or it's a small run. But
Got it.
Nothing that's sustained, co-design brand. I don't have anything like that.
Got it.
In the works now.
Yeah, cool. Where does your entrepreneurial spirit come from? Because you launched the channel, right? You said you just all of a sudden started with your collection. So.
Yeah. So I actually don't know where that comes from. I have no business owners in my family. I don't even think in my extended tree do I have business owners.
Everyone's a career something or other.
Career something. I mean, maybe you could say some entrepreneurs in my background, but no real business owners in my family. So it didn't come from that. I think I was always just attracted to the autonomy. And I saw people in my life where you could see that maybe they had success, but passion wasn't there.
Got it. And there's a big difference there, right?
It is different. And I saw people make good money.
Right.
And you could see that something was missing.
Right, yeah. Absolutely.
So for me, I was always attracted to the autonomy of business ownership and self-expression of it and the challenge.
Right.
Quite frankly, the challenge of it and proving you can do something and not taking the easy path. So that was partly it. And I think now why it's sustained was I just met people, and the people that I have in my inner circle, like
Yeah.
my business partner, my wife, like they're just so supportive of exercising that muscle.
Got it.
And that is crucial for any entrepreneur. I think people think about the solo mission, being like the entrepreneur and going out there, but a big part of it is your support system.
Absolutely true.
And the people that you talk to on a day-to-day basis. If you have people that encourage that type of activity, let's be clear, it's scary. To do stuff on your own.
Absolutely.
And you have employees, and
there's no net.
You know they have children.
Yeah.
And you're thinking about their, because I don't have children yet, but I just think about that obligation.
Right.
It's a scary proposition.
Yeah, it's you.
It really
you're
is.
raising the feds. And it's an idea that's not lost on me either. You know, all these families that rely on me and stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, for me, it comes from my dad, because my father was a business owner, owned a store in Manhattan, and you know, I always wanted to be a business owner, and I love blazing my own trail.
It mostly happened to me in college. I remember in college I was recognizing, and I was looking around in the classroom, and I saw everybody doing the same work, and then I was always interested in business. Like that was very clear. Like business was something I was interested in. And I saw like how can you separate? What can you do? And then I started to reach out to business owners just to meet them. And I always found that when you're reaching out as like a college kid or a young person, you're trying to reach out to somebody, and you just are very kind and just show interest in what they're doing. They'll open it up.
Yeah.
And then in that, I connected with business owners, and I saw what they were able to build in their life. And I just got so fascinated with entrepreneurship.
Cool.
So then from there, at my university, I went to the University of Dayton in Southwest Ohio, but it's a really good entrepreneurship program. I made an event for students when I was at the school.
Cool.
And I was never a go-getter in school, but like I was so in love with this idea of like seeing people grow things and putting themselves out there, that I remember I did this event, and I got all this funding to bring all these entrepreneurs on campus. My first job out of school was at a software startup, and that was cool to be working with founders to be able to see what they did to navigate that path.
Yeah, to keep it going.
So that was really it. I mean, just
cool.
kind of taking it step by step and being tracked to that journey.
Yeah, because you definitely, I've watched you today. You're a go-getter, man. You know what's going on. So my final question.
Okay, yeah, let it rip.
And so I'm only doing this question because it happened to me when I got to Cleveland, and I was waiting for the Uber, and someone came, tapped me on the shoulder, and said, "Are you Mark from Long Island Watch?"
Very cool.
And
gotta throw that in there.
And I said, yes. He's a very nice man. His name was Brandon. He was from Kentucky. Hey, Brandon, if you're watching. And so it must happen to you a ton. I enjoy it when it happens.
Love it.
I've had people say to me, like, they'll put in the comments somewhere in a video, I saw you at this engagement, whatever. I didn't want to bother you and your family, blah, blah. So I was asking so you just said you love it. You enjoy it when you get spotted and noticed, and a little bit of fame. And
it's just so ridiculous, because I remember when I hit the record button for the first time, to think that I have any impact on somebody's life, right? I could provide any joy.
Right.
Absurd.
Right.
It's absurd, because I was just going to camera, had no expectation.
Yeah.
So the fact that I can be a part of somebody's passion,
right.
What an honor.
It's awesome.
And if somebody shakes my hand and I say I'm part of their journey,
yeah,
unbelievable. I love it.
Yeah.
When somebody comes up to me, I am just always thrilled. I want to hear.
Happy about it.
I'm always happy about it, because it reminds me also it's real.
Right.
You see those comments on YouTube, you get desensitized a bit.
Yeah.
Because
sure.
the interaction, the currency of it
it's just digital.
It's too easy.
It's words.
When you see someone in person,
there's more to it.
It does change the dynamic.
Yeah, sure it does. I mean, for me, I guess engaging with the customer, the big one for me was when the first orders 20 years ago started coming in, and I was like, wow, these people. They don't know. This is before I was on YouTube. They don't know who I am, what I am, and they're actually trusting to go online to this thing called the web and buy a watch that they've never seen before, because I was selling stuff that nobody had, and they trusted what they saw in me and everything, and that's kind of where my happiness would stem from. And then when I started building the channel and putting a face to it, which I believe was probably one of the most important things I ever did, was putting a face to the channel. But yeah, I mean, my wife and kids roll their eyes. I mean, it's hysterical whenever I get, because you're just on vacation or whatever, and it's just
airports
are big. We were just in Hawaii, and someone ran up, and the guy came over, and he's like, Mr. Frankel, so I'm like, big fan of the channel, and one of my sons looks at me, and he goes, and my wife goes, I'm like, yeah, but I love it. I think it's great, and I'm glad you like it too, because it's very, I don't know, where else can you do that? I mean, it's just. It means a lot, and for people to actually come out and say something.
Yeah, it's surreal to me to think that would ever happen.
Right.
Because I'm a guy.
Right.
I'm a guy, and
Right.
we got to know each other today, and
Right.
spending some time shooting some videos, and
Right.
you recognize that yes, there's a person behind the camera, and it seems like this is caricature, and they don't
Right.
even seem like a human, but
they're real.
it's real, and
We are real.
Yes, we are real, and if you see us in person,
This is
yes,
not AI.
Yes, yes. Yeah. And I'm really appreciative of anybody that watches.
Awesome.
It means a ton to me.
Great. That's all I had for you. So,
Well, thank you, Mark. And I just want to say thank you to you, because I remember, and how this all came to be was you made a video about me taking that next step into authorized
Building the
dealership.
store, yeah.
And I remember clicking on, I'm like, oh boy, here we go. I don't know what he's going to say.
Never. I mean, you can't.
You-
If I have a bad thing to say, I'm not going to say it.
You addressed it with so much class. I think you addressed it from a personal perspective that you felt a lot of the same
so
maybe
interested in
hurdles.
that. Yeah.
And I just appreciate the way that you do things. You can tell from just how you operate. Being with you today, you're a man of integrity. And I just really commend you on that. And I believe this industry is better when we're working together.
Colleagues.
Colleagues. I have nothing to fear. I will collaborate with anybody. And I think it's great that people support your shop.
Right.
It's great people support our content. They support our shop.
Absolutely.
It's a win for everyone. My goal is to make watches something that can sustain and be something for a new generation of people.
Right, because we're definitely in a transition phase now where, watches could easily fall off a cliff and disappear.
And I'm passionate about this stuff, and I know you are too, and we're just trying our best in this big and small little world, as we talked about, and I love what you do, and thank you so much for having me on the channel.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Mark.
Take care.